Welcome back to another episode of the Powered by People podcast. I'm your host today. My name is Bill. I'm the accounts director here at the Rec Hub, and I'd love to welcome Carla. Welcome, Carla.
Thank you so much. Very happy to be here.
Carla is the director, the global director of talent acquisition at Slice, which is an incredible company. And I'd love you to just start by telling us what Slice does, if that's okay, because I'm pretty sure everyone would love to hear about a fascinating company in the pizza industry.
Yeah. So definitely in the UK, a lot of people are like, "Who is Slice?" Our product is used in the US only, but we are a global team that helps kind of bring it all together. So, um, Slice is on a mission to help independent pizzerias be more profitable. We want them to thrive. That is our mission: is keep local pizza thriving. So in a nutshell, we kind of give them all the advantages of a franchise, while allowing them to stay independent. So they get all of the tools, products, technology that you would get if you were on a kind of one of the big key pizza players. Um, Everything that they have to kind of make them successful, we kind of give to the independently owned pizzerias all across the US.
Amazing. And you've been there for a little while now, right? And worked your way into this director of TA role. So it wasn't a role that you joined directly
No.
in as director, and you've seen a lot of changes in the company, I'm sure, over those years.
No. I joined back in March 2019, so I feel like I'm part of the furniture at this point. But I came in originally to build out the Belfast office. So come in as an IC. Um, Belfast was going to become one of our technical centers of excellence. I'm a tech recruiter through and through. That's where I started. And yeah, just kind of progressed. I am one of these people that just puts their hand up. I'll do it. I'll try it. Throw whatever at me. And yes, here I am today, kind of running all of TA. So I've been in this role. I'll be 2 years in January. So yeah, it's been great, and just being able to have the privilege, I guess, to watch Slice grow from being a very consumer driven company with online ordering, and then kind of growing that product set right up to what we have today. So includes a whole host of different things, including like a point of sale, um phone product, supply chain. We even do pizza boxes now, all branded to the particular shop. So it's been really cool to watch, and really amazing to be part of.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously, we've known each other a little while now, and knowing the role and how the company's changed there, but how the roles changed and all the stuff that you've had to juggle, being adaptable and trying your hand at anything is probably something that served you well over there with what's been what could be a bit of a chaotic environment, but doesn't seem like a chaotic environment because of how well you've handled it, which I know we're going to talk a bit more about later. Yeah, just to kick us off, I've got some quick fire questions just to get things warmed up. 5 questions or a bonus question when I'm the host, as well at the end. So first things first, do you know what you wanted to be when you grew up?
Did I know what I wanted to be when I grew up? I was a little bit of a performing monkey when I was younger. I played the harp, I did Irish dancing, was very competitive. So I probably thought for a long time I was gonna like tour with river dance for quite a number of years.
That's awesome.
Never actually ended up happening, but that's a story for another day. Do you know what? When I actually look back, I was actually thinking about this the other night. When I look back, I don't think anybody wakes up at any point in their life and says, "I want to be a recruiter." We all we all fall into it one in one way or another. But I remember going back to school. I don't know if you have it in the mainland UK, but in Northern Ireland here, we have this program called Young Enterprise, and we have folks that come in, and a group of people will be kind of pulled together from the year, and they teach you how to run a business, set up and basically run a business. And then all the schools all across Northern Ireland compete with each other. So you have to come up with a product concept, make the products, sell it, everything. And I remember going through, there was one day they were going through all the different job roles, and a personnel manager was one of the roles, and it was basically like HR people. And I remember going, that's me. Um so there was that, and then I remember whenever I worked in retail, whenever we were doing, like, the Christmas hiring, because we always would have taken on, like, 10, 15 extra staff for the Christmas period, I always wanted to do the phone calls of, "You've been invited for an interview. Would you like to come in?" And I used to do that, and then I used to be there on the day whenever they were coming in and show them where they needed to go and all of that kinda stuff. So when I look back on things like that, it does kind of show me how well suited I am to
Yeah.
do just by those little things. So in a nutshell, no, I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do, but there's definitely little signals that have shown me that I'm in the right spot, I think, today. So
That's probably the most I've ever heard someone actually have like a kind of grow up story into coming into the recruitment world. Because, like you said, I mean, we're both from agency background, right? Like, no one plans to end up there. It's definitely a what on earth am I going to do in my career after university job?
mhm.
And it's probably the close. I mean, I don't know if it's the same there in Belfast, but it's certainly in London. It's like the closest thing to still being at university whilst not being at university because you're just out all the time and there's a big social scene to getting into recruitment.
I think that's why I made the move into internal was after I had my first child. Just the agency world um, just wasn't, like, quite fitting anymore for a number of different reasons, but, yeah, it was fun times, it was amazing times. I wouldn't be where I'm sat today without the agency piece, I don't think. I think it really sets you up for,
Totally.
in so many different ways.
It teaches
Um
you so much, doesn't it? Like you learn so much about, actually, I learned so much about like candidate care and how to look after candidates and how to really understand what's motivating them and things like that, that I'm really, really grateful for. And especially things like stakeholder management and being able to deal with tricky stakeholders. You learn so much from that environment that I wouldn't change for the world, but I would never be there right now with like, two kids and, married and things like that.
No, no, I definitely think if you need something to teach you just that real tenacity and resilience, like, there's no better way, but I would have to say, I know some people that went into recruitment and they maybe just didn't land in the right agency, I think
Yeah.
it's sink or swim, I was very, very lucky that I ended up in, I would say, one of the best in Northern Ireland, a company called MCS Group, and, the training there was just phenomenal, I couldn't have asked for more, so yeah, I just was very lucky. As I say, I wouldn't be where I am today without that experience. So yeah.
Yeah, that's so right though. Like you say, like those make like if it's the right company, you can learn so much. Some people just end up having a really bad one. It's horrible, and you hear some horror stories as well.
Really do.
But like in terms of the training schemes that they actually like the good ones put in place, like they're really well structured, really well thought out, and you can learn so much from them. Anyone I speak to now that's like looking to get into a career in recruitment, obviously you probably get the same people reaching out, like junior people wanting to get into a new career, and I always say to them like don't start internal, like start externally if you can and try and find the right company and do a year or two and do the training scheme and go through that, build that thick skin that you're going to need later on that you'll get from an external company.
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely something I look for when I'm hiring as well. I think that a couple of years in agency just gives a different edge.
Yeah, absolutely.
Vers- Yeah.
Early bird or night owl?
So I'm a little bit of both. Um, Early bird probably because I don't really have much of a choice. My 2.5-year-old is a bit of a 5 a.m. riser anyway, but I find that when I do get the opportunity to kinda sit at my desk around 7 a.m., I can get a couple of really good focused hours of work done. And then, Bill, you probably have this as well, but I in the kind of from 5 to 8, at home is a little crazy with, kid dinners and homeworks and whatnot. Um when the house is quiet and they're all in bed, I actually love just jumping back on again and, like, doing an hour and finishing a few bits up and all the rest of it. So, I'm a little bit of both, I have to say. I'm not great kinda middle of afternoon. Yeah, that we to 4, I struggle, but yeah, the two sides of it, yeah, I'm
Yeah,
pretty good.
definitely. You definitely understand why, like, now I've got kids, like, why my parents were up way before I was up when I was a kid. And now I realize that's their quiet time. That's when they were just like, before the chaos happens. So I do it now. I make sure I try and get up before the kids are up, just so I've got kind of 20 minutes to have a cup of tea or a coffee on my own and, like, just wait for the day to start.
I know, all fits together. I know you spend so much of your childhood fighting with your parents that you don't want to go to bed, and now as
Yeah.
parents, you're, "Just let me go to bed." Funny how the table turns, but
Yeah. What was the first job you ever had?
my first job, so I've literally been working from I was 14. I feel like I've just always had a job. So I worked in the local bowling alley. Uh, there was like, like a soft play kind of kids area. So I worked in the soft play. So I was the agent standing on a Saturday with the kids' parties, doing songs with them and doing like the actions and the dancing and stuff with them. So yeah, that was my first job.
That's brilliant. Well, yeah, that is incredible. Um, last normal question. I say normal question. It's not really normal questions, but last question. That's our pre questions. Dream holiday destination.
This one's probably top of mind because I'm really jealous that my mum is going here. Japan. It's always been like really, really high
I hear that. Yeah.
on my list and has been for years, and it's kind of fallen down the list. It might be a bit much to take three kids under 8 to Japan, but um yeah, just the culture, the food, just the aesthetic of the whole country, it's just beautiful. One day
Yeah.
I will get to.
It definitely looks incredible, doesn't it? That's that. I mean, that'd probably be my like dream destination. But you're absolutely right. It's probably like ones now we're kids, like it's just not going to happen anytime soon. But once the kids are off at uni or something like that, or they're all moved out, then maybe there. That's probably when that's going to happen. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
so
My son tries to tell me that he will be fine on the plane and he wants to go because I think there's like a Nintendo Land or a Super Mario
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah.
that he's dying to go to, but no, maybe when they're a little bit older, but not right now.
I bet it's actually really well set up for kids. Actually, like I mean, like when you're actually there, like because there's how much technology is involved in the country. Like I could just picture what Tokyo is actually like, and all the lights, all the cool places, and the cool restaurants and things like that. I think kids would actually love it. But yeah, I'm not sure I want to sit on a flight over my kids. That's all.
We're going to Greece this summer, and I'm like already dreading a 4 hour flight, let alone an hour flight. So, yeah.
Yeah. How holiday planning's changed. My I don't know, it's probably the same for you. It's like, how long is the flight and is there a kids club? Like they're the two first checklist things now. It's not like what's the local town like and what are the good restaurants. Like they're the first two things to check.
First two things followed quite swiftly by do they do chicken nuggets or pizza? Like, do they have really simple fish?
Exactly. How stressful is this going to be based on those three things? Am I going to actually enjoy myself because they're enjoying themselves is the main thing. Um, and the bonus question, because it's me asking, and my last name's Brewer, what is your choice of morning brew?
My choice of morning brew, coffee.
Coffee. Straight in, cappuccino, latte, espresso,
No, just straight
no
in,
fancy stuff.
straight in Americano. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
nice. Same as me.
I love, the wee quirky food aisle in TK Maxx. Do you have
Yeah,
that? Oh,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you always have like really random brands of coffee, and my coffee at the minute is a bourbon maple flavor.
Oh, wow.
I don't like syrups, but when it's actually already in the coffee, I find it
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
quite nice. So that is my morning brew right now.
Nice. Mixing it up. So I kind of touched on it earlier, but Slice has changed a hell of a lot. Obviously in the time that you've been there and they've grown and it's gone from success to success, and it's an incredibly successful company going through its newest ramp up phase. Um, one of the things that I would love to talk to you about, what I've observed from us talking to each other, um, is just how incredible you've been and the team's been, and also the whole business has been in general, in getting everyone bought into the same plan and vision and pulling in the same direction. Um, and I just wanted to talk a bit more about that if we can, because that's not easy. Like I speak to so many companies, I see so many companies that think they have it. And then when you get involved in it and you're like, oh, you talk to people there and they don't quite have it. Not everyone's pulling in the same direction. And I guess, my first question is like, is there anything that, that's happened over there that you've seen, observed, maybe from leadership, or is it just within TA that you think like has got everyone pulling in that same direction? Like what's caused that, do you think?
Um, so there's probably like a couple of different things there. It's like number one is like understanding the why. Like
Mm,
why are we doing kind of certain things? And then there's like, how do we make sure everybody's in line? So, if you think about the why, um, I would say our culture is really heavily leaned towards we're all in this together, and not to I know some people think that this is like a rehearsed thing when you start talking about company values and whatnot, but I genuinely love our company values because they're really short, sweet, and simple to follow. Um, I think number one, before I sort of go into that, number one, like slices are really, really bought into our mission. And I think the reason the why always comes up in every single conversation that we have at Slice is because everybody's just so fired up by what we're trying to achieve. And if you don't understand it, you're missing the best part of working for Slice in the first place. So yeah, sorry, the two core values. Number one is, we're all doers. It doesn't matter what level you are in the business, everybody rolls their sleeves up and kind of jump. And number two is better together. Like we genuinely believe that we achieve so much more when we work as one team.
Yeah.
Um, so whenever we think about kind of this kind of big hiring push that we're going through right now, which for context is we're basically need to grow our sales team by 3 times in
Yeah.
a very short space of time. I think our exec team does a really, really good job of, kind of setting the scene, giving everybody an understanding of the context, the business goals, and what success actually looks like. And that clarity trickles down. And I think that's where it all starts, is just that clarity, because if we don't know the problem that we're trying to solve, then we don't know what system we need to build in order to solve it. Um, so as TA kind of spans
Yeah.
across every department cross-functionally, so that why is really crystal clear. Um, if we think about kind of making sure that everyone is aligned and everyone's kind of on the same page and kind of going towards the same goal, like for me, real alignment is everyone involved can describe success using the same
Yeah.
sentence, right? When people actually agree on what we're trying to achieve and what good looks like, and not just in theory, but in every day-to-day decision that is made. Um, for us here at Slice, kind of one thing that has changed with us is just kind of building towards more of like a process level thinking. Really kind of stepping back from the chaos of individual work streams and actually looking at how the whole thing fits together, and everyone kind of having an understanding of that. And it's a little bit of a new muscle for us, I would say. But I think once you start thinking that way, everything runs a little bit smoother. And I think once you stop firefighting, you start acting with a little bit more intention as well. Um,
Yeah.
I guess um, the other thing is kind of having that safe space where you can go and have sort of the trickier conversations, I think, too. Especially when you maybe have one leader who has, like, a date in mind because, "Right, let's create this big sense of urgency," and then you maybe have another leader who's a bit more about kind of, you know, progress towards a goal and quality and stuff like that. And I think that, there's room for both. There's a place for both urgency and sustainability, but it's just whenever there's, like, a bit of a push and pull and, that
Yeah.
they're going in opposite directions, you need to be able to have those conversations and just get everything out on the table and kind of talk about it. Um, so I think, yeah, just kind of that communication, creating a system. From the outset, it probably sounds a wee bit boring, but when you take the time to sorta get it all in place, it then becomes like rhythm, not drama.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of helps, especially when you have
Yeah.
scale to think about.
Because it's certainly not boring. I mean, it's getting teams aligned to a mission and vision makes like work so much more enjoyable. If you're going to work and you know that, oh, I've got to go and deal with that department today, or something comes up and you're like, at the end of a process and you're like, "Ugh, got to go and do that," and that ugh, kind of feeling that you get because not everyone's putting in the same direction makes life very difficult. And everyone has difficult roles and especially in TA in the world that we're living in at the moment, it's not easy, and having everyone putting in that same direction, I guess I don't know if it does help, but I would assume it does with someone like Slice because the company has a real purpose deep down. It's helping, pizzerias and small pizza companies and growing pizza companies realize their dream of having a level playing field to some of the bigger chains and bigger guys, right? And grow their businesses. So it operates with real purpose, but sometimes that still doesn't translate into the company that's doing it, i.e. Slice, actually all pulling in the same direction because many companies have great purpose but they haven't quite got it right. Is there anything like communication wise from is it done from like the CEO downwards, or do you think it's come from wherever C-level people have been brought in or heads of department brought in? They're aligned to the vision, so they're making sure the departments are working together from day one anyway.
Um, like a very, our CEO is third generation pizza shop owner. Like whenever you listen to him speak about, the mission and his passion for this mission and just how much drive and ambition he has, for the company, you can't help but, get drawn into that. Like it's really, from my perspective, unavoidable, at Spice. And, we have weekly town halls where, Alir will talk to everyone in the company, and we'll usually invite people in from other departments as well, be it, from product or sales or marketing, and they'll come in and they'll talk about the work that they're doing. But, it's not just about the work per se, it's how it all kind of like aligns to, the business outcomes and the goals and everything that we're working towards. So I think it just is the culture, Bill, it's just there, it's talked about all the time. It's we always refer back to that mission, and you feel it. You really do feel it, the company. But yeah, very much so. It does start with our CEO, but it's everywhere.
Everyone's doing it. And for the listeners listening to this, just so there's context, what's the workings? Is it fully remote where you are for most of the company? Are people based in some sort of offices somewhere? What's the setup like for the people listening?
Yeah, so we have our UK hub is in Belfast, and then we're headquartered in New York. We are also opening a small office in Canada right now, and then we have our offices in the Balkans. So 3 in North Macedonia and 1 in Pristina in Kosovo. So um some people are fully remote, some people work in the office. So, a lot of people in Belfast, particularly like our R&D team and stuff as well, would be fairly remote. It's quite flexible in terms of, there's offices there if you want to make use of them, but you're not sort of tied into that. And then the likes of our sales team, support teams and whatnot, our phone team, they would be in office, just because of the nature of the work and the kind of compliance and protections that need to be in place for the things that they're doing. So a little bit of both across the company.
And that's interesting then. So for anyone listening to this that has that blended setup and a globally based team with all different departments in different places, and some people having remote working and some people not, some people in office. Do you have any like tips or advice to things that people could implement to get that alignment and get everyone on board? I mean, you touched on it briefly there with like we have weekly town halls and there's people speaking and people are giving insights into their departments, which brings everyone together. But do you have any advice for anyone that maybe is a head of TA listening to this that has that similar setup, is really struggling with getting alignment, or has a company that doesn't quite have that great alignment that you guys have, that could be implemented, or simple tips that help in communication?
Recruitment? Yeah, it needs a refresh. 47 billion euros wasted globally every year. Outdated processes, poor hires, time loss. That's not a crack, that's a sinkhole. But that's where we come in.
We're not here to paper over the cracks. We're here to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it. We don't have a talent bench. We have an agile community ready to flex and flow with your needs. Forget traditional RPOs. Forget that one-size-fits-all nonsense. Recruitment doesn't work that way anymore. With responsive, reliable recruitment support when you need it. We're 100% reliable. No fixed bench, no cookie-cutter solutions.
What we do have is an obsession with delivering agile, authentic, noble talent solutions. And the best part, you don't have to settle for good enough anymore.
It's about talent, real talent, embedded into your team like it was always meant to be there. Just a collective of top-tier recruiters, ready to deploy in days, not weeks. Basically, we're not your average recruiters.
Actually, we're the exact opposite of that.
We don't just send over CVs and cross our fingers. We're in your corner, repping your brand, your culture, your values.
It's time to evolve. It's time to think differently. It's time to just ask the Rec Hub.
That's a good question. I'm going to say something here, and it's going to sound so simple, and probably like, Carla, we all know this, but I think there's a way in which to use it. But having very specific Slack channels where people have the ability to communicate together. And I'll give you an example. Just kind of the campaign that we're working on at the minute to increase our sales team, we started up just a Slack channel where everybody could feed into or answer questions or whatnot, because obviously we had a lot of new folks on the team who were helping us to recruit for these roles. So we knew there was going to be lots of questions flying around and lots of unknowns. But what actually happened was, and I mean, this Slack channel will have everybody from TA right up to our chief people officer, Amy's in there, our chief revenue officer, Lauren's in there. Because we had such a high volume at the top of funnel, we needed like quite a large group to handle the first stage interviews. Everyone started to like give little snippets of feedback of every candidate and what we were doing and why people were saying yes, why people were saying no. So when you're a recruiter and you're sat and you're thinking like, okay, I'm working on my territory, but how's other people getting on? It kind of just it became this little hub of like insights and information and just really valuable snippets for us to bring into conversations and stuff. And it just became this like amazing hub for everybody to like lean into, which has really, really helped with alignment cross-functionally, because you have everybody from TA to people team to the executive team. So everybody's in the loop with everything that's going on stage by stage without me having to sort of write like a big report and send loads of stuff. I'll do that anyway. But just having that live place for people to go to, that's been a real game changer. It's a little bit addictive, I have to say, but it's been one of my favorite parts of the whole campaign. It's just watching that energy kind of happen in front of your eyes on a Slack channel. So sometimes it is just little simple things. I don't think you need to like overcomplicate it, but just having the platform, be it Slack or be it something else, just having that platform where people can lean in and not. There's a bit of a balance with this, right? Like you don't want like a Slack channel where everybody's in it and it becomes like noise for the sake of noise. But when it's like a complicated when it has a purpose, and it's the right people in there, it's an amazing way to make sure that everybody's in there and everybody knows what's going on.
I think that's a really astute point, because people think, you said there it's a very simple point, Slack channels. And actually, yeah, it is a simple. A lot of companies have Slack channels, but a lot of companies have a lot of Slack channels that are irrelevant. And then when you have more, and you always have relevant channels, and then all of a sudden, the ones that are important just aren't valued much because there's too much going on, too many conversations happening, too many things happening in different places. People are just like, I'm not going to read that. But if you do have specific channels for specific things set up by specific teams and saying, this is why this channel exists. I mean, you mentioned it earlier, like there's very clear communication steps to say, this is why we're doing this. This is why this channel exists. Probably in a nicer way, not as direct as that, but that's probably what the premise of it's all set up like. This is why this channel is existing. This is what we're going to be doing here. This is what we're going to be talking about. And actually, you've got people in there. Another interesting point you said there, there's certain people that are in there. I've worked with some organizations where some companies, like some people in some organizations say, I'm not getting involved in that channel. Just report to me what happens from there. And that doesn't really show that we're all in this together. And, they value the being part of that channel and showing their face in there and having their input and having the open door policy and everyone kind of being shoulder to shoulder in whichever project that might be, whether that's TA hiring in a sprint or whether that might be, a finance topic or whatever's important at that point. Just having people bought into it, understanding what it's for, and then going along with it just adds to that. We're all in this together.
Absolutely, all in this together. And I think one of the really great things about Slice is that our executive team are so accessible and so open to being part of conversations. And it's, yes, obviously there's a time and place where they don't need to be there, and you do just kind of report back of what's going on and whatnot. But I would say most, if not all, if I said to them, look, I really think you'd benefit from being in this Slack channel, or I'd really think you'd benefit from joining us in this meeting today. I don't think they've ever said no to me when I've asked something like that. If I need to get just that, like if we have contract recruiters in them and they're maybe like still finding the lay of the land, there's nothing better than getting the likes of Lauren, our CRO, to jump on a call and kind of just give them a really good kind of gearing up in terms of what we're trying to do. So I think if there's companies out there and the executive team are maybe not as forthcoming with getting involved and kind of being part of the communication loop and just kind of jumping in. I don't know how I would cope with that environment. I'm so used to it being the other way. Do you know what I mean? What it is a huge part of why certain projects and campaigns are as successful as they are.
Talking of campaigns and projects, you're obviously working on a big one now that we've alluded to a few times. But again, just for the people listening to this, what's the big hiring sprint that's going on at the moment? So just people can understand a bit of the chaos that you're working in.
Um, Chaos, but it's been so much fun.
Yeah.
I think at the start of it, it was never. I think it was like half and half, nervous and excited, all kind of in one. But yeah, so we basically were kind of very late August, early September, given the task of hugely increasing our sales team, our territory management team in the US. Yeah, they were like, we need it to be 3 times the size by January 1st. When we first started chatting, Bill, I think if you can cast your mind back, it was we need to have all offers out by January. And then a decision was made that it wasn't actually the case. It was we needed to have everybody through the 5-week training program ramped and ready for the 1st of January. So it very quickly, very quickly changed the plan and how we were going to approach this. And there's so much unknowns even for me. Like we even changed the profile of a territory manager that we've even looked for before. We were very much restaurant tech, point of sale experience. So we were going from being able to like jump on LinkedIn and put in our keywords and be able to find the right people and whatnot to we now want to hire for a person, not a background. So it was about designing a process and designing like an interview process then again of how do we go from hiring people with a very particular type of experience to, okay, now we have to hire for attributes. We have to hire for a person, which is a completely different mindset. So it wasn't even that we had this playbook. We had a bit of a playbook, but we definitely didn't have a complete playbook that we could just roll out and get moving on this. So there was a huge amount that we had to take into consideration. Number one, I didn't have the team to deliver on that demand. I knew I had to go and choose a partner to help us with, and that's putting an awful lot of trust in someone else. Luckily we made the right decision. Because we were kind of going down the early years or early careers side of things, and we didn't really care if somebody had experience. We felt that we wanted to bring an assessment, so we then had to look for a partner there. So yeah, I guess by the time we kind of got everything stood up, made those partnering decisions, assessment decisions, designed a really robust new interview process, with rigor in behind it, with consistency. We probably had them 7 weeks left to deliver the hires. So 7-8 weeks, give or take. So yeah, it's been crazy, but it's been so much fun, and the learning I think everybody is getting out of it has been phenomenal.
Yeah, absolutely. And a story to tell, which we keep talking about. I think one of the things that I've found most admirable about this, and something that I think listeners can take away, is when we first met and we first started talking about this, and you were faced with this challenge that was a challenge in its own right, first of all, and then became an even bigger challenge. Never once was it a case of saying, I never got once that you said we can't do this. It was always okay. If we are going to make this work, what does it need to look like? So let's talk it out. What is this crazy scenario that we're in? If we are going to make it work, what's it going to look like? And I think first and foremost, that's testament to the company environment that you're in, that you feel like you can do that and then go back and present that option and say, look, if you want this to work and you need that, this is what needs to happen. And the trust is there to be able to have that conversation. But also from a TA leadership standpoint, I think you made the point the other week that you've always you don't always have all the answers, but you always make sure you surround yourself with people that might have the answers. And your attitude straight away was, okay, how do I make this work? Who do I need to speak to make this work? And what ideas, so I can formulate an idea as to go and make it happen. And I think that was incredible to see. And so for people listening, what was the plan and how did you approach it? And what have you ended up with now? At the risk of plugging the Rec Hub, which is not the idea whatsoever, but what was the the plan that you've ended up putting in place for the challenges that you've got, and how did you approach it?
Yeah. So I love the saying, if you're going to miss the bus, miss it running. So, I always try to keep that in my head. And, when a goal seems like ridiculous or too big, I'm a bit of a stubborn person. So I will always have the view of like, I'm gonna do everything I can to get this stood up in a way that we can at least say we did everything that we could. It's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be learnings along the way, but I just always try to keep that kind of mantra in my head. So, when you think about executing on something like this, like you do need to think of it in a systems kind of way. Um, we knew we were going to have to have very fast momentum. I knew this campaign was going to be very unforgiving in terms of, being able to calibrate on the profile. Like there was going to be very little room for error. People were going to get stressed out very, very quickly. And um, when you're in those types of situations, for me, you can't have sustainable momentum without a system in place. If momentum is built on adrenaline, that will burn out, very, very quickly. And momentum built on structure will last an awful lot longer. So for me, very simply, it all comes down to doing what you said you'll do when you said you'll do it, and almost kind of creating a little bit of predictability in behind like what you're trying to do. And for me, having that wee bit of predictability and being able to look kind of week on week where we need to be and how close we're kind of tracking to certain goals or whatnot, predictability will then build trust within the business because they can see that you're kind of tracking. Um, you also can't build momentum for these types of campaigns on heroics either. If you're kind of expecting everybody to completely overexert themselves all the time, work late, work long hours, and all the rest of it. You know, you can't just think that you're going to come in and swoop in and kind of save the day. It might work for a very quick time crunch, but it's not sustainable and it's most certainly not scalable in any way, shape, or form. So, I guess whenever we were gearing up for this particular campaign, I needed to make sure the right foundations were in place. So, I mentioned I didn't have the team to deliver it. So I am such a believer in community and network and having good people around you. And when you haven't been through something, who can you call that has? So I'm part of a kind of group called TA Exec Social, which is kind of like a group of director level and above folks all across the world, and they have a little app.
Brilliant community, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh, Bill, I cannot tell you how many holes that group has pulled me out of when I didn't know what I was doing. There's always some shit.
Shout out. We'll do a plug for them. Big shout out, TA Exec Social.
Absolutely, absolutely game changer. So I kind of reached out to a few people that I knew and trusted and would have delivered on something like this before, and just got some thoughts, ideas, suggestions. So kind of went out and spoke to a few different folks that we could potentially partner with, and then obviously we went with the Rec Hub. So there was that getting the team kind of set up. Then we needed to think about kind of what kind of metrics were going to matter week on week and kind of get that all built out. Like what were the expectations? We needed to think about the interview process, how that was going to look like. We knew that it was going to have a lot of people kind of being pulled into this group to do interviews. So we needed to make sure that that was really structured and robust, and everybody kind of knew what they were doing, what to expect, and what needed to happen. So yeah, like they're kind of the main things. That kind of real core kind of foundation, having the right partners, structure, what metrics are going to look like week on week. They're the most important things. Um, I think following on from that, now that we're kind of in the mix of it all, and now that now that that is all kind of stood up and going really well and kind of going all in the right direction, I think a big part of sustaining momentum is keeping the bar high within your team as well. I think the standard has to be really, really clear. Everybody has to pull their weight. Everybody has to hold each other accountable. If someone's not contributing as much or maybe kind of draining the team's energy in some way, shape, or form, I think you need to deal with it quickly and fairly. And it's not about blame. It's not about finger pointing. It's just about protecting the energy and the integrity of the group that is there. So you do have to move fast with things like that as well.
Yes. I think you've always had that. I think from the start, there's always been a team goal rather than everyone has individual goals within the team goal, but the team goal is the most important part, right? I remember you talking about that quite vividly, where we had this number that everyone was aiming towards, both internally and externally. And I think, again, credit to yourself. One thing that I think has been brilliant to observe is just how well you've been able to pull both internal and external resources into one team that feels like we're all unified in a goal that we're all trying to achieve together. And again, that's no easy doing. A lot of companies struggle with that. And there's always internals sometimes having a battle with externals, and it exists, unfortunately. But I think, again, it just goes back to the credit to the mission and the clear goals that the company's trying to achieve. We're all in this together, clear communication, and then you can do something like this, right? You can have everyone working and pulling in the same direction for a short period of time or a long period of time, whatever it ends up being. You can do that because the foundations are right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, leadership kind of sets the pace for everything as well. And that's whether they mean to or not. If leaders are kind of running around acting like everything's on fire, the team will live in that same energy.
That's true. Yeah.
So I think you and I probably, because we spent probably a good 2 weeks together trying to get everything sort of set up and stood up and sort of ready to go. And I think that was probably my safe space to run around like it was on fire for a while.
We gave each other both confidence in it, right? We were both kind of probably walking away sometimes thinking, we actually know how to do this. But then because we were just giving each other, we were like, hype people for each other, like, yeah, we're going to be able to do it. This is going to be fine. Gave each other the confidence for it.
I remember just saying to you, like, I think maybe like a weekend, just like, Bill, I think we might just do this,
Yeah. Yeah. I think we might be able to do this. And lo and behold, I think we're pretty much almost there, or definitely heading in that direction. But the last one of the big last key points I just wanted to touch on, because you touched on something really important, I think, the team balance, but looking after your team as well in this. Is there anything in particular you're doing with, specifically mainly the internals I'm talking about now, with making sure that they feel empowered, but also able to speak up if they're struggling with some of the workload, because it is I guess a bit of a extraordinary time dealing with this kind of level of hiring, and it's not your usual. It's not going to be like this for 12 months. Is there anything you put in place with your team internally, any special one-to-ones or any different communication, or is it just a case is they know me, they know they can always speak to me, and it's there already?
Yeah, like I think the one thing I think I always keep in my head is you can't run a healthy team on tired people, right? And I think whenever a company's going through hyper growth or crazy hiring spells where everybody's just having to jump in, it is kind of easy just to fall into that, oh, it's just one more sprint, or it's just one more time and we'll do this, and that'll be fine, we'll be okay. But I think if every quarter starts to feel like that, you're not really sprinting anymore, you're really surviving.
Yeah, that's just your pace now.
It's now. And so, duty of care for my team is so important. And I tell my team all the time, you don't work for me, I work for you. And that's something I always try to live by. But duty of care, for your team it's just about paying attention. You can feel when people are stretched. You can feel it when the energy dips, when the humor starts to go out of, the team meetings and whatnot. You feel it when people do. And
Channels quiet as well. Yeah.
my channels are quiet. People aren't asking questions. But yes, I do weekly one-to-ones with all of my team, but they know they can just ping me any time and I'll hop on a call with them. But you don't need a dashboard to tell you any of this stuff, right? You just need to notice it. So, if someone on my team is is struggling, with their bandwidth, and they come to me and they say, look, I am maxed out. They know it's a safe space. They know I'm not going to see it as complaining. It's just context of what is actually going on. So, it helps us all stay honest and adjust before people burn out. I think targets and whatnot, and goals and things that we have to achieve, will never go away. But how we reach them and how we achieve them matters just as much as actually hitting them or getting to the end goal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so fascinating how, I mean, just to, I guess, close that conversation a bit, but it's so fascinating how, I guess, everything we've spoken about all comes back to the very first point, which is if you can get, company culture right, which is about communication and all being brought into the same vision and where the company is going, a lot of these other things become a hell of a lot easier to do. And like you touched on earlier, very simple answers, good Slack channels, good one-to-ones being in place, having a team goal that everyone's working towards. Might seem like very simple points, but very complex to get right if the foundations aren't right, which is having company culture spot on, having communication, having a good vision for the business.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. A lot goes into it. And, before coming on today, like, I was thinking, right, what's Bill going to ask me? And I did have it in the back of my head. I think some of my answers are just going to be, oh, really, Carla? That's so insightful. It's so simple. But like you say, like, I think everybody has like really good intentions, to do the simple things, but actually it's the things that kind of get pushed to the wayside because other things crop up and whatnot, and you do lose sight of how is the team, how are we tracking, does everybody know what they should be tracking against, you know? And if that's not there, you're gonna struggle from day one.
Absolutely. Well, last question then, just to wrap up the episode, is what is the one piece of professional advice you would give or could give your younger self?
Oh, that is a very good question. Don't compare yourself to others. Just find your own way. And I think once I stopped trying to have the same style as another recruiter, or do things the way somebody else did them, or manage the team in the same way as somebody else did them, I wasn't finding my true leadership style. I wasn't finding my true voice, like how I wanted to show up, as a partner to the business and whatnot. I think once I kind of let that go and just, kind of find my own little groove, my career kind of just went from here to here very, very quickly at Slice. Yeah, I think that's what I would tell myself.
Amazing. Carla, thank you so much for coming on the episode. That's been brilliant. And I'm sure everyone's listening has taken a lot away from that, and things that they can definitely implement into their teams and businesses. So, yeah, thank you so much for coming on the Power by People podcast.
Thank you so much, Belle.